and then we'll get our legislators to line up. Hachka. Evening, everyone. Welcome, legislators, Tsawwassen people, staff, and guests. Happy to see everybody this evening, and grateful to be here together on our final night of our spring session, our spring 2024 session. We've had a lot of great questions and discussions throughout the past month. I think it's been longer than a month, but and I hope everyone feels proud of all the work that we've accomplished. I'd first like to thank Connie and Jessica for the table blessing, legislator Spluktuet, Terry Splukton, and Sitsamia Coral Baird for drumming us in, and to Yums Catering for providing yet another delicious and nourishing meal for us. And want to thank all the caterers who have supplied us with such wonderful meals during the spring session. We do our best work when our stomachs and souls are full. Tonight, as with every session, we have many matters to discuss, debate, and vote on, so I look forward to the conversation. And I am just stepping in. Our Squeakquel Chumquat is on her way, and we'll just do a swap. Oh, she's here. I see him. Okay, but I think before we proceed with tonight's agenda, I'd like to invite Legislator Marianne Adams to open our meeting with a prayer.
Haichkasiam. Creator, let us pray. Listen to our prayers. Thank you for bringing us together. Watch over us today. Please help us with our work. Keep our thoughts strong. All my relations.
We'll let our Squeakquel have a bite to eat, and just let me know when you're ready. That's him. Thank you for your words, Marianne, and for starting us off in a good way on our final night. I'd also like to thank our feather runner tonight, son, Dayton Jacobs Mail. Welcome back, Dayton. As with our custom, I'd like to remind legislators and staff to wait until they have the feather before speaking and to pass the feather back to the feather runner when finished speaking. Finally, before we get into our agenda, I wanted to announce that Chief Cassidy will be blanketed with a chieftain blanket made by cousin Deb Sparrow on our Treaty Day event on April 3rd. Following the advice of our Standing Committee on Language and Culture, and Chief Cassidy has asked that all members of Executive Council and Legislature be blanketed alongside with her, which is a new custom that we've started with our previous chief. So an email invitation was sent to staff earlier, so really look forward to that. The ceremony will take place on the evening of April 3rd at the Longhouse, at the Tsawwassen Longhouse. Doors will be open between 3 and 3:30. If anybody has any questions, you can contact Jen Jansen to let staff know if you'll be able to attend. And if you're not able to make it, Language and Culture and staff will make arrangements with you. One last reminder is to put everybody's phones on silent. Okay. For tonight's session, we'll start with the exciting update of our 15-year treaty review project. Then we'll consider a motion to authorize transfer of net income from the Fisheries Stewardship Fund. Next, we'll hold the third reading of Bill 001-2024, the Appropriations Act, and hold a vote. After that, we'll have the third reading of Bill 002-2024, the Land Amendment Act, and hold a vote. Then we'll debate and vote on the 4 legislative resolutions tabled at our last meeting. And finally, we'll end with legislature's closing comments, which is something I always look forward to. Those are my favorite nights, the opening and closing comments, so look forward to that. Do we have any questions on tonight's agenda? Seeing none, I think we'll move to our first item of the night, our 15-year treaty review. Every 15 years, our treaty is subject to review. I'd like to invite Manager of Policy and Intergovernmental Affairs, Twyla Smith, to share an update on this important project. Chika.
Heichka Squeakle and Heichka to the Feather Runner. Sorry, this mic feels a little bit more intense than it usually does. There we go. It's a pleasure to see you all tonight. I'm really happy to be here on the final night of this session. And it is a packed agenda, so this is a pretty short presentation, but we really wanted to take a few minutes to reflect back some of what we heard during the engagement and give you guys a bit of an update on the project. So we can jump right in. Do I have the... I don't have a clicker. So as the Squeakle mentioned, every 15 years there is an opportunity for periodic review built into the treaty. And in this process, any of the parties can bring forward changes to the treaty. And it is supposed to take place over a review period of about 6 months. So that's starting in just a couple of weeks. So in terms of the engagement that we did, this was really to develop what we're calling the wish list. So what are the items or topics that we want to bring forward for review? So we did 10 family meetings. There was in-person sessions off lands in the Okanagan and the US. There was an elders session, a youth session. We met with various TFN committees and advisory council. We missed that March 18th date with advisory council, but I think we're... Oh no, that's next week. That's happening. Never mind. Legislature, there was a virtual survey and quite a bit of staff engagement as well, staff who work really closely with the treaty. So I have to say this was a really rich process. We heard a ton of feedback. I've got hundreds of pages worth of notes and potential topics. And I just really want to say thank you to everybody who participated. It was really incredible to hear from members about what's working and what's not. And yeah, I learned so much through that process. So thank you. So the next slides are going over kind of some of what we heard, and this is a really high level. As I mentioned, we have hundreds of pages worth of feedback, some of which we are using for other projects. So if it wasn't kind of at that treaty level, we heard a lot of feedback that's more to do with TFN law or other ways, you know, we can achieve things, so that all that feedback is being considered for the strategic plan and other projects. But a quick snapshot of what we heard. In the governance theme, we heard about amending the eligibility chapter to make it very clear that TFN has full control over determining membership. We heard about including references to UNDRIP, as well as strengthening the consultation and collaboration with Canada, BC, and Metro Vancouver. It's not on the slide, but there was some other jurisdiction suggestions around gaming, cannabis, and some jurisdiction issues related to health and healthcare information. And we also heard about making amendments so that it's not a full and final agreement, but a living agreement. So changing some of that language. Under the theme of lands, we heard about addition of lands and water lots. So that would be acquiring more lands, as well as amending the process to add lands into treaty settlement land, as well as with respect to the water lots, about changing it from leases to ownership, acquiring more water lots. We heard about removing the ALR designation, so that TFN has greater decision-making control over those lands. And we heard about improving authority over building homes. And yeah, we heard about some issues that could be improved with Metro Vancouver that probably fall under this lands theme as well, related to how we participate. In the culture and heritage theme, we heard about strengthening the Hunkaminam language and rights with respect to language. We heard about strengthening ability to own artifacts and ancestral remains, and yeah, just potentially become like a repository through the treaty, and other ways to improve the management of those heritage aspects, as well as clarifying jurisdiction over cemetery operations. We heard a lot in the territory rights and natural resources area, so a lot about strengthening stewardship rights, about jurisdiction over environmental assessments, about improving joint fisheries committee operations, enhancing the fish and crab allocations, exploring that reasonable opportunity concept to ensure that members do have reasonable opportunity to harvest, as well as hunting allocations within the territory as well as other areas in BC, and finding ways to open up more hunting opportunities for members. And in the fiscal theme, we heard about the tax exemption, on expanding the tax exemption to all of Tsawwassen lands. We heard about removing the own source revenue requirements, trying to strengthen some language regarding Canada and BC's procurement requirements, and revenue sharing with Canada and BC. And just noticing this must be an old photo because Takaya is really little. Yeah, so that's a really kind of high-level snapshot of the types of things we were hearing. And in terms of next steps, we're really looking to finalize the wish list of items to bring forward to Canada and BC. And you know, I do want to mention a couple of caveats here, because it really won't just be up to us what changes we can make. You know, Canada and BC are a party to the treaty as well, so they will certainly have a say in kind of which items move forward. There's also quite a lot of topics we heard about that can be handled, like I mentioned, in other ways. So not necessarily a treaty amendment, but items that we can address through TFN's laws and policies, or through BC or Canada's laws and policies, and advocating in different ways. So some of the topics we heard about, we've sort of identified for future work through other avenues like that. And then we also have to prioritize to make it a manageable piece of work. You know, if we had 500 items, it just becomes unmanageable, and you kind of can't get anywhere. So we got to kind of get it to a size that's actually something we can push forward with. So there will be what we heard being distributed through the community notice coming in the next couple of weeks. That's being worked on, and it'll add a bit more detail to what I've shared tonight. And yeah, then we're moving right into meetings. We have a trilateral meeting on April 8th to discuss process and how we're going to work together through this next period. So more to come, and we'll be looking probably for multiple ways to provide updates to this table and to members in general. I think you can expect to hear from us certainly at the members gathering in the fall session about this, but there could be the potential for workshops as well. If people are available during the summer, we may need to connect with this table and talk through some of the issues. And just, yeah, as a reminder, every single amendment is going to come through this table. So you will get a very detailed look at all of those potential amendments as they're coming. And that's all I have for you. Aichka.
Aichka, thank you, Twyla, for your presentation and all the hard work that your team did. Our family participated in one of the family meetings, and just want to thank you. I think that's really important, and it means a lot to families who, you know, can't always make it to the big meetings and all of that. So I know that families really appreciate that, so thank you and your team for all the hard work that you do. And I also just wanted to announce that we have Tukwila Brace Williams online. I forgot to announce that. But do we have any questions from legislators? Let's look to it.
Aichka Shkwikwalan, thank you, Father Honor. It's not a question, it's more of a comment that I would also like to thank your staff for all their hard work, getting feedback from our TFN members. Aichka.
Aichka. Do we have any other questions? Laquia? Laqualia, I'm sorry.
Aichka Squeakle and Dayton. Thanks for the presentation, Twyla. I have sort of a broad question because it's the 15-year review. How long does it take until we have a finalized agreement? Like, I understand that we have to determine like what can and cannot be negotiated, but what do you see? Like, do you foresee like a few years down the line until there's a finalized agreement? That's it. Thanks.
Twyla?
Hitchka, for the question. It's a good one, and I can't answer it with complete certainty, but what I think will happen is things will probably advance in sort of batches. So as we, there are some items, for example, that we know BC and Canada already have mandates to work on. There's language in other agreements that have happened since TFN's treaty that we can pull from. So there are things that are going to be easier that will probably come first. And then there are other things that they don't currently have mandates for. They might have to, sometimes it can take months to go get a mandate to negotiate something. So other items are going to take a bit longer. So I suspect that the next 6 months, what we'll do is spend really discussing the possibility of achieving improvements in certain areas. And by the end of that 6 months, we want to, at least at the provincial level, have a really good sense of which items we can actually get specific amendments on. And there might be a few of those where there's existing language that we can all agree, yes, we all like this language, we're kind of ready to move forward with an amendment. But some of those, what we'll do in the 6 months is basically decide, okay, we know that we agree with some shared interests here that we can move ahead with, but we maybe haven't even started drafting specific language yet. So I think it'll be kind of in batches like that. We're probably, I think, maybe as early as the fall session, we'll be able to look at one or two, but I'm thinking this is going to be next year and when it comes back to this table for actual amendments. And then some of these items, I suspect we're going to be working on for several years. And it might be a couple of years before we actually get real amendments at this table. So I do think it's not going to be one big, like, here's 50 amendments to look at. It will kind of come in batches. Heichka, I hope that answers your question.
Hitchka, Twyla, good questions. Do we have any more? Sultana?
Hitchka, Squeakquel, Featherrunner, and Twyla. There's one question I'm not too sure about it yet. So for the TFN committees for March 21st, is it going to be scheduled here in the rec center? Okay, and the other one is when we're addition of lands and water lots. I guess my inquiry is, you know, like when we acquire more lands, would we be paying taxes on them? You know, like I'm not too sure how that would work, you know, if that makes any sense. Okay, Heichka.
Hitchka, Twyla?
Heichka for the questions. For the committee's meeting, I'm actually not sure. Is that a request to have it in the rec center? I can pass that on. Okay, I can find out and let you know about that. For the lands and water lots, whether it would be taxed or not, will depend on the amendment itself. So there are different ways that could go. It could be that TFN receives, like say we ask for new parcels and BC is, you know, okay with that. We would then have to negotiate whether they are automatically part of Tsawwassen lands and defined as Tsawwassen lands within the treaty amendment, or would they not be? So would they be more like the other lands that are still within Delta's jurisdiction? And I think that's something we would have to negotiate, but it could go either way.
Hitchka, Twyla? Do we have any more questions from legislators? Thank you, Twyla. Seeing none, I'd like to ask our respected Squeakquel Jumquat to come up so we can do a swap. Hitchka, thank you for allowing me to sit here.
Osiam Kuakuya thank you so much for sitting in this chair, and it allowed me to do the speed limit on the way here as opposed to the way I normally drive. So I think that my family appreciates me coming home in one piece. So Hechka OCM. Where are we, Alex? All right. Okay, wonderful. One of my favorite presenters, I think, is next. We're now on to the agenda item, a motion to authorize transfer of net income from the Fisheries Stewardship Trust. Tonight, legislatures, you will consider a motion to authorize the transfer of the net income from the Fisheries Stewardship Trust. And I'd like to now invite Director of Finance and Corporate Services, Mark DeMello, to speak to the reasons why this motion is being tabled tonight. Mark?
Thanks, guys. Squeakle CM. Thank you, Dayton, for the feather. So the motion is here for your consideration today because two schedules of Bill 001-2024, the Appropriations Act, include funding for the fisheries from the Fisheries Trust. Those schedules are natural resources, where there's $200,000 included as a revenue for them, and Schedule 7, so that was Schedule 11, and Schedule 7, member government services, which includes treaty rights and titles, and they include $1.5 million. So combined, we're looking to $1.7 million to be provided from the Fisheries Trust. The directors of the Fisheries Trust approved the distribution out of the trust, but for TFN to utilize the money, the trust requires that TFN legislature approves the receipt of that money and its use. And so, Squeakle CM, that's the reason that this motion is brought forward for your consideration today. Hechka.
Hechka and Mark, thank you for that brief presentation about the purpose and the reason for this motion. Legislators, do you have any questions with respect to this particular motion? Legislature Sultanat?
Hey, Hechka, Squeakle, Featherrunner, and Mark. Can you give me clarification on, if you can, more detail on what the $1.7 million will be used for? It says for purposes stated, but I just want to know if you have any more details on that. Okay, Hechka.
Hechka Legislator Mark?
Hechka Squeakle CM. Thank you, Legislator Sultanat, for the question. In Schedule 11, Natural Resources, $200,000 has been included in the budget. What it does is it offsets some of TFN's costs that are associated with fisheries stewardship and environmental projects, and that's consistent with the uses set out in the Fisheries Stewardship Trust. And then for treaty rights and titles, there's $1.5 million there. That's going to go towards the Schwetzenum work that is being done by both treaty rights and title and natural resources. The exact work will be determined when the new director of treaty rights and titles is hired. But at that point, again, the focus is going to be on stewardship. And so, again, those are uses that are consistent with the Fisheries Stewardship Trust. Hechka Squeakle CM.
Hechka and Mark, does that answer your questions, Sultanat? All right. Are there any more questions with respect to this trust fund and the motion that's supporting the transfer of the net income. Legislator Kwiakwia.
Hajka, Squeakle CM, Hajka Dayton for the feather, and Mark for the presentation. Just a question in regards to the Stewardship Trust. When was the last time we did one of these? And if we have, and do we expect to do another transfer again next year? Hajka.
Hajka Legislator Kwiakwia. Mark.
Hajka Squeakle CM. Thank you, Dayton, for the feather and for the question. The last time we did one of these was a couple of years ago. So that the amount that we take out of the Fisheries Trust that funds specific studies and things like that in natural resources is typically around the $200,000 mark, which is what we've budgeted for again. That was done a couple years ago, and then the year before that too. The 1.5 million that we're taking out for treaty rights and titles, that's now going to be a new amount that we hopefully bring forward year after year. And that's because we're going to be receiving $30 million from Canada. And we estimate that the annual revenue on that's going to be about 1.5 million. So this is something that we should now expect every year, because we're going to take that funding and use it to pay for lots of environmental stewardship work on an ongoing basis. Hajka Squeakle CM.
Hajka Mark. Legislature, does that answer your question? Excellent. Any other legislature questions before I circle back to Asaltanat? Legislature Asaltanat?
Hajka Squeakle and Feather and Mark. Okay, I just want to know about the accountability about, that's a lot of money. So how is it going to be accountable to the people? Does it make any sense? Yeah. Okay. Hajka.
Hajka Legislator Mark.
Hajka Squeakle CM. So the money, when it's received, becomes part of the TFN budget, which hopefully in the next item legislature is going to approve. But as part of that budget, it's 40 million plus just on the member side. Every dollar we spend is highly accountable money. We track everything that's spent. We report back. It's all audited. We report back to the community at the annual general meeting, and executive council reviews with the auditors the financial statements in great detail before they're approved. So there's a fair bit of accountability built into this entire process. I totally understand it is a lot of money and it's new money, but as we said through the development of the budget process, we never spend money unless we really need to. That is one of the things that TFN's really good at, is staying accountable for what we do and what we spend. Hajka Squeakle CM.
Hajka Mark. Legislature, does that answer your question? Excellent. Legislator Marianne.
Hajka Squeakle CM and Hajka Mark. Just a clarifying question. It states just all aquatic life. Just want to confirm Tsawwassen territory, that's river and ocean, correct? Okay, Hajka.
Thank you, Legislator Mark.
Ajka Squeakle CM, thank you, Dayton, for the feather, and Legislator Marianne for the question. I guess a nod isn't enough, so the answer is yes.
On the record, Mark, on the record. Heichka. Legislatures, now that you've had some time to think about this motion and listen to some of the other questions, are there any other comments or questions with respect to this motion? I seeing none, I will call for a mover and a seconder. And then once we've done that, we will vote on this motion right after that. So do I have a motion, a mover to authorize the transfer of the net income from the Fishery Stewardship Trust? Mover, Lacolia. Seconder, Taylor. Legislator Lacolia, Legislator Taylor. All in favor, please raise your hands. Table is unanimous. Legislator Bryce.
I'm in favor, thank you.
Legislator Tehuilam, thank you. Motion passed unanimously. Thank you very much, legislators. All right. Wonderful. We're now moving on to the third and final reading of Bill 001-2024, the Appropriation Act. Throughout this spring 2024 session, we've heard, debated, and voted on schedules 1 through 13. We've done a lot of work. We've done a lot of inquiry. We've had staff answer questions. We've dug a little deeper and ensured that we understand the budgets that are presented in the schedule. We do have one more opportunity for questions or comments before we proceed to the final vote. Are there any questions or comments from the legislatures on the entire bill of 001-2024 that you did not have an opportunity to ask during this session and would like to ask now? Legislator Squamia?
Hi, Squeakle. I don't really have a question. I was just hoping maybe for next year, if we could get each schedule, if an organizational chart could be provided for all of the staff within each department. And I really appreciated how the policy crew did a little write-up and a picture. It doesn't even need to be in that much detail, but just something like an organizational chart per department or per schedule, however that would look.
Heichka Squamia, I think that that is something that all the legislators would appreciate. We certainly appreciated Twyla's chart, which some of her fellow managers and staff are feeling a little bit envious of because we keep praising her up on that. But it does help us understand the amount of staff that the budget is supporting, and the amount of staff that the programs have to be delivered, and it gives us a better perspective. So I think that staff can make a note of that particular request but does not preclude providing that information still. It would be nice for us to know that information. So I think that some of that might come in the program and services guide, but if that is not so, then we would love to see how the different staff are allocated to the different schedules. So thank you very much, Squamia, for that. Any other questions with respect to the Bill 001-2024 Appropriations Act? Legislature Assaltanot?
Okay, Hitchka, Squeakle, and Featherrunner. You know, I appreciate the hard work that went into all the presenters and the staff, but I'm just wondering if we could get updates throughout the next year or so in regards to the capital projects, specifically the cemetery. You know, because I know that you have to go through a lot of red tape with the ALR, but you know, just updates on the capital projects would be really good. Heichka.
Haitchka Legislature for that suggestion. After having 2.5 days of Sean presenting on all of the capital projects, I'm sure he'll be excited to provide us updates throughout the middle of the year. But I am sure that staff have made note of that update and provide us an opportunity for that to receive that update throughout the year at some point. Haitchka. Any other comments about comments or suggestions or questions regarding this entire schedule, schedules 1 through 13? Any schedule is on the table for a question? Point of clarification? We've received a lot of information, and it was organized in a manner that allowed for clarity for us to understand what each budget was asking of us, what programs were being delivered, and how they were going to be delivered, the reasons why there was an increase or the reasons why there was a decrease. And we really appreciate the detail that goes into helping us making this very large decision. Breaking it up into schedules allows us to eat that big elephant one bite at a time. And I think we're now very satisfied with the fact that we reviewed this Appropriation Act satisfactorily. Therefore, I will move to forward and read the motion to approve Bill 001, 2024, then ask for a mover and a seconder. Motion to approve Bill 001, 2024, the 2024-2025 Appropriations Act. Whereas the Tsawwassen Legislature has the authority under Section 512C of the Constitution Act to enact Tsawwassen laws, and whereas the Tsawwassen Legislature under Section 24(2) of the Financial Administration Act must approve the annual budget. And whereas under the Legislature Rules and Procedures Manual, Section 25, each bill must receive 3 separate readings. And whereas Bill 001, 2024 has received 3 separate readings. Therefore, be it moved that the Tsawwassen Legislature enacts Bill 001, 2024, the 2024-2025 Appropriations Act. May I have a mover? Chief Squamosat. May I have a seconder? Chief Legislature Halkamatia. Is that foreshadowing? Okay, thank you. All in favor, please raise your hand. Table is unanimous. Legislature Tequilum.
In favor, Haitchka, Squeakle, CM.
Oh, CM. Thank you. The bill for the Appropriation Act for the 2024-2025 has been passed unanimously. Congratulations, legislature, staff, and Tsawwassen members. All right. Do we want to do to this last item and then take a break before the resolutions? Should we push through this one item? All right, Haitchka. Bill 002, 2024, the Land Amendment Act, third reading. We are now moving to the third and final reading of Bill 002, 2024, the Land Amendment Act. We have one more opportunity to ask for questions and comments before we proceed to the final vote on Bill 002. Does any legislators have any questions with respect to this bill? This bill has been a very important bill that allows for us to create opportunities for our members to be able to remove some barriers for our members. It's opened it up to create, we don't have to use some of the changes, we can create regulation to define it further, but it allows for us to create an opportunity for our members to do A-to-A leasing, as well as creating a trust appointee. So the work that the staff have done have been in favor of supporting, improving the members being able to do land work and remove some of the barriers that have potentially been in their way. So as we went through this session, we had a lot of questions and workshops, and we really appreciated the detail of information that was provided to our members through family meetings. I thank you, Legislature Kwiakwia, for acknowledging the importance of family meetings and having the opportunity for people to speak in a small group environment where they're comfortable, so that they can vocalize their concerns and questions. And it's a method of communication that we find is very effective and that we continue to support and continue with. I'm just now waiting before I actually formally move into reading the motion for our legislature to return back to the table, so that we can have a full legislature to have the vote. So I was just in a moment there was kind of stalling, but now the woman of many words is falling short of something. So I'm sorry, I'm going to have to resort to this next thing, which is a Mark joke. So Mark said to me at the last session, after Crystal with a C presented and after Crystal with a K presented, and then Ryan presented, he goes, "We had two crystals and a gem. Ryan's the gem." Corny dad joke, I know. And I didn't say the joke because I thought it was super corny. Mark was very disappointed. He goes, "You didn't say the joke." And I went, "No, I did not." But Mark, you see, there was an opportunity here, and I filled it with your dad joke. So, yeah, I was just, Mark, I don't know what else to say about that. But I also want to thank the legislatures for the work that they've done on this session, where you provide feedback, but you also provide encouragement to the staff. They really work hard, and your praise means a lot to staff. They listen to both the constructive criticism as well as the praise and the suggestions. And we've learned from experience that they take these suggestions and implement them where it is reasonable and feasible to do so. And they make every effort to do that. So we really do appreciate all of the work that the staff does to put into making these sessions successful. All right. Why don't we take a 5-minute break? Hajka. Haichka legislatures, unfortunately, Thies-Thalot is not feeling well and has gone home. We'll send some prayers of wellness for her, a little fresh air and some rest, and she sends her regrets for having to leave. So thank you for that. Break was timely. It allowed for her to have the opportunity to go home and get some rest. So that's it. That was your break. You don't get another break until we finish. So so here we are now. We are now at the motion to approve Bill 002-2024, the 2024 Land Amendment Act. But before I read the motion, I wanted to know, were there any other questions with respect to this, this bill that legislators might have? Legislators? All right, legislators, I'm just checking here to see if Tehuilam, I don't see a hand from Tehuilam either. So I'm going to read the motion, and then I'm going to ask for a mover and seconder. Then I'm going to ask for a vote for people here in person to raise your hands, and then I'll look to Tehuilam, Legislator Tehuilam, for his verbal vote as well. Motion to approve Bill 002-2024, the 2024 Land Amendment Act. Whereas the Tsawwassen Legislature has the authority under Section 512C of the Constitution Act to enact Tsawwassen laws. Whereas under the Legislature Rules and Procedures Manual, Section 25, each bill must receive 3 separate readings. And whereas the Tsawwassen Legislature has conducted 3 separate readings of Bill 002-2024, the 2024 Land Amendment Act. Therefore, be it moved that the Tsawwassen Legislature approve Bill 002-2024, the 2024 Land Amendment Act. Do I have a mover? Chief Squamosat, seconder. Legislator Halkamatia, all in favor? Raise your hands high. All opposed? Legislator Tehuilam?
In favor, Haichka.
All right, motion passed with all in favor but 1. Thank you, legislators, for your hard work. I appreciate that. Sorry, Wenyan, we didn't need you to come up and answer any questions. Thank you for being ready and prepared to answer them. I appreciate that. Now we move on to the next item of our night, and that's the debate of our legislature's resolutions. Now is the time to debate and vote on the resolutions that were brought forward at last meeting. We love this tool. It's an important tool for legislatures to bring forward their priorities from the community, from their observations, and from their experience. We have 4 resolutions that require input from our table this evening. All right, the first resolution that we're considering tonight is the resolution to consider amendments to the Tsawwassen First Nation procurement policy tabled by Legislature Kuyakuya. As a reminder, this resolution asks that Executive Council consider amendments to the Tsawwassen First Nation procurement policy that recognize the important role of member-owned businesses by providing them with additional benefits. I would like to invite Legislator Kuyakuya to briefly explain her reasons for bringing this resolution forward, and then we'll have some time to discuss. Legislator Kuyakuya.
Haichka Squeaklesiam. Haichka Dayton for the feather. Wasn't expecting to go first.
Sorry.
But okay. Let's see here. Like I said, when I brought this forward at our last meeting, I've just heard a number of concerns from member businesses and their employees for lack of work and opportunities that I feel is really, in the end, is the purpose of the treaty, really, is to provide opportunities, not only for our nation, but as well for any businesses. And that includes any business from construction to catering, to landscaping, storage, automotive, any of the companies. I just, and in Ryan's presentation for economic development, he talked about possibly doing more joint ventures or more businesses. I just want to ensure that those opportunities are available, and I feel that that they should have a little bit. How do I say? Well, one up on Tawasin government because they are smaller. Our Tawasin government is huge. We should be lifting up our members and their businesses. So that's the reason why I put this on the table. I think it's just worth looking at that procurement policy again and just tweaking it and ensuring that those opportunities are there for them. Yeah. So do you want me to read the resolution?
Would you mind reading the
Oh,
resolution again, please? Do you have it handy?
Yeah.
That's
Okay,
good, quick, yeah.
resolution to consider amendments to the Tawasin First Nation procurement policy. Whereas member-owned businesses have played a critical role in the economic success of Tawasin First Nation, has experienced this treaty, and made significant contributions to the economic well-being of members. And whereas member-owned businesses face direct competition with business owned and resourced by the Tawasin government, and whereas the Tawasin Members Guarantees Act states that the Tawasin government will provide support to business enterprises of individual Tawasin members and will not favor Tawasin government business projects over individuals projects. And whereas Section 10 of the Tawasin First Nation procurement policy does not advantage member-owned businesses over Tawasin government-owned businesses. Therefore, be it resolved that the Legislature request that Executive Council consider amendments to the Tawasin First Nation procurement policy that recognize the important role of member-owned businesses by providing them with additional benefits.
Hechka Legislature Kuyakuya for your resolution. She tabled this and Legislature Tehuilam seconded it. I now invite legislatures to ask any questions or have any clarifying questions for this resolution before we move to a vote. Legislators? Legislator Sultanat?
Aichka Squeakle and for the Feather Runner. Okay, just a couple of clarifying things. What are the benefits for, as an example, like for this amendment? And also, just clarify that does not advantage member-owned businesses over Tawasin government-owned business. So can you clarify that statement, please? Thank you.
Hechka Legislator Kuyakuya?
If I can answer this correctly, some of the benefits, I don't have the procurement policy in front of me. I don't know. I'm looking at staff if there's anything that staff could add to that. But on the second one, okay, individual members and will not favor. So member businesses, are in direct competition with the Tawasin government, and member businesses are much smaller. I'm not sure if I'm answering it right. Section 10 of the Tawasin First Nation procurement policy does not advantage member-owned businesses over Tawasin government-owned businesses. So, in the procurement policy, member-owned businesses and Tawasin Tawasin joint ventures are created equal under the procurement policy, and I'm suggesting that member-owned businesses get an additional one-up. Sort of, I don't know how else to say it.
No, you're saying it quite
Yeah.
quickly. I think that
That's the best way I can
Mark
explain.
would like to add a little bit to support the question, answering the question. But I think that the way, what I hear from you is that we don't want, your resolution suggests that we don't want our government to be in competition with our member businesses, and we'd like to advantage our businesses a little bit more to level the playing ground when there's opportunities to be considered, so that the larger organization doesn't always, in your view, get awarded, and then the smaller member businesses get left out because they're just not as large scale to compete with that. And we want to support our businesses is what your resolution is wanting to just give them a different kind of an advantage. One more advantage, so that they can have more of a level playing field.
Yeah, if I could just, Squeakquel, if I could just add to that as well. That is not to say that, you know, the procurement policy I think is great, you know, getting the 3 bids and all of that. And, you know, I'm not suggesting in any way that, that we just to be awarding something like that, but just to keep more of an open mind for that.
Heichka. Mark, did you want to add something to what you heard to support answering the question, or to Heichka?
Heichka, Squeakle CM. Thank you, Dayton, for the feather. Just to clarify, on behalf of Legislator Kweakwea, Legislator Saltanat, the Section 10 of the Procurement Act is a section that provides an advantage. It's called a member preference section, or a preference section in general. And basically what it does is it says, when comparing prices, when you've gone out to quotes, that in certain cases, benefits are given. And it's where a member business, for example, is 100% owned, or between 75 and 100% owned by a member or a group of members, they would get a 7.5% benefit. If you're between 50 and 75, you get a 5% benefit. So it's as if your bid, if you bid $100, your bid would be 92.5 cents, $92.50, because you get a 7.5% reduction. TFN JVs would be in the same sort of consideration, but TFN-owned companies do not exist right now. TFN joint ventures have a 50% ownership. So what would happen is if a member-owned business bid on a project, they would get a 7.5% adjustment down on their price for comparative purposes. And a TFN joint venture would get a 5% reduction. So in actuality, there is a 2.5% benefit that's given to 100% owned member businesses currently. And when we workshopped this, because this was probably the most workshopped policy change we've ever made, and many legislators around the table will remember that. It was a question of finding a way to promote member businesses while also keeping a handle on overall costs for TFN. So it was kind of striking that balance, and that's how we came up with the policy. But certainly, I think the need to go back and determine whether this policy has met the intended needs is probably a good thing for us to do anyway. Squeakle CM. Heichka.
Heichka, Mark, for providing an in-depth explanation of how we got to the member preferential treatment and and the work that's done that. Legislature Kuekia, is that a satisfactory interpretation of your resolution? Hechka, thank you. So, are there any other questions from legislatures? I will now call for a vote on the resolution to consider amendments to the Tsawwassen First Nation procurement policy. All in favor, please raise your hand. All opposed? Legislature Tuchilam?
Strongly in favor, Heitschke.
Heitschke, the resolution has been passed with all but one in favor. Heitschke, thank you legislators for your debate and your questions, and thank you Legislator Kuekia for exercising your government duty and responsibility by tabling this resolution. I'd now like to move to our next resolution for consideration, resolution to contract members to share harvesting knowledge. As a reminder, this resolution asks for Executive Council to support hiring of Tsawwassen members on a contract basis to share harvesting knowledge and practices in all forums available to members. I'd like to invite Legislator Taylor Baker to briefly explain her reasons behind bringing this forward, and then we'll open up for discussion. Heitschke.
Heitschke Dayton, Heitschke Squeakquel. Yeah, as I discussed on Tuesday, I'm bringing this resolution to contract members to share harvesting knowledge forward. I've had a lot of youth in particular express to me that they would love to learn more, and not every family has a hunter or a fisher in their family to learn from, and so I think it's a great learning opportunity for families to come together, whether it's smoked salmon workshops or gathering berries and then creating jam workshops. I think there's a wide variety of workshops that can be hosted, maybe in the rec center. But also too, it's an opportunity for TFN to benefit these members by contracting them out and paying them. I just think there's a whole wide variety of what this could look like. So I'm open to hearing thoughts of what workshops maybe interest you. In particular, I know my cousins have expressed they would love to learn how to, preserve hide, learn the cultural ways that we do in Tsawwassen and how to preserve and, make use of every part of the animal. And so, yeah, I welcome everybody's questions on that and encouragement as well of what you would like to see. Heitschke.
Legislator Taylor, could you read the resolution for us again, please?
Heitschke for the reminder. So resolution to contract members to share harvesting knowledge. Whereas our ancestors were skilled fishers, hunters, and farmers who access a rich variety of foods and steward the land, and these practices are still a fundamental part of TFN culture and identity. And whereas much of this knowledge still lives within our members, but not every family has traditional knowledge keepers that can pass on this knowledge. And whereas Section 4 of Tsawwassen Culture and Heritage Act requires Executive Council to preserve, promote, and develop Tsawwassen culture, therefore be it resolved that the Tsawwassen Legislature requests that Executive Council support hiring of Tsawwassen members on a contract basis to share harvesting knowledge and practices in forums available to all members, with topics including hunting and using the whole animal, preserving hide for drum making and other uses, and gathering and uses of traditional plants and medicines. Heitschke.
Heitschke, I will invite any legislators to ask any questions or comments. Legislature Squamia.
Heitschke Squeakquel and Heitschke for the feather. This is a really great resolution. I don't know how long ago it was, but about 20 years ago, probably over 20 years ago, I worked on a project where I was transcribing interviews that were done with elders in our community, and it focused a lot on harvesting different plants and hunting. I think it would be a really great opportunity to maybe go back to some of those interviews. I think more recently a fellow legislator helped digitize that in a different project. I don't recall what the purpose of the interviews were for, but I think it would be really beneficial for this. Heitschke.
Hajka, for sharing that, Legislature Squamiah. Legislature Lucolia. I think Dayton's learning all of our ancestral names. He's moving to them even before their hands are gone up after I've said their names. Wonderful.
Haichka Dayton, there'll be a test. Yeah, great resolution. I'm very into learning how to, processing animals and learning how to smoke salmon, canning, jam making, anything, I'm all into that. If needed, can we contract member spouses or even community member spouses? Because there's a lot of folks that have valuable hunting and harvesting knowledge that we can access. So just to consider all folks that are involved in our community, because for one reason or another, not every TFN member has those bits of knowledge. So something to consider.
Hajka, Legislature Lucolia. Before I go to the next legislature, Legislature Taylor, would you like to comment on both, either one of those comments from those legislatures?
Haichka Dayton and Haichka Lucolia and Squamiah for your comments. I totally agree, Legislator Melinda, about the transcribing interviews. I know of those, and I think those are really important to bring forward again, and maybe a workshop. I think that's a really good idea. And just about the comment about community members and spouses, I think is a really great idea too. We're very fortunate to have a wide range of knowledge in the community, which is super important. So yeah, I think that's a really great idea. And I also just want to make a comment for those that are tuning in that maybe didn't tune into the last session. Crystal Lockhart during her presentation brought forward some workshops that kind of tie into this resolution. So it may look repetitive, and I was laughing because she presented and then I presented this. So I think it's all tying in all together. She had a lot of really good ideas for workshops on, eagle feather and beading, and I definitely think this is something very similar. But yeah, I really appreciate the comments, and I'll hand the feather back if anyone has anything else to add. Haichka.
Hajka, Legislature Taylor. Legislature Spiloctowit.
Haichka Squeakle, thank you for the runner. I agree with your resolution, and I also agree that with the recordings that was done a long time ago, that it would be nice if it was shared so that we know what our elders were sharing. It's not just our language that we lost, but we also need to bring back, sharing the knowledge of harvesting and hunting and all of that. And I just want to say that I like the hunting and using the whole animal. We have a lot of members that have their hunting license, but don't have the knowledge of hunting and using the animal. So I agree with this.
Hajka, Legislature Spiloctowit for sharing those comments. Legislature Halkamatia.
Haichka Squeako Siam. Yeah, I'm in support of this resolution. Might be a good time to plug on Monday there's a agricultural course workshop for the whole day. Get a hold of Nikki Lorenz by tomorrow to register. It's an all-day session, I think, here in the rec center, and you can also participate online. So that, I think our staff do hear us, like we are plugging along to do this. But I did hear this at the members gathering, so I'm glad this resolution's on the table. I know it doesn't say fishing on that list, but it does say skilled fishers on top to keep that in mind, because that's what I heard strong and loud at the members gathering, was the fact that there are some families that don't have members of the family that fish, and they got young members who are very interested in learning how to fish. So I'm really glad this resolution's on the table, and I support it 100%. So I'd really like to see some of our young youth who are interested in fishing get the opportunity to maybe some members get some support to help them get onto a boat. Haichka.
Haichka Legislature, and thank you for sharing their comments about hearing things and listening to things and what we've heard at members gathering and bringing it forward, and the staff comments of we're all paddling together. So this is good, and this resolution just reinforces that. Legislature Paliquia.
Haichka Squeakle Sam, Haichka Dayton for the Feather. Yes, I really like this resolution. It really ties into a lot of our other resolutions and our work around this table, and the importance of sharing and, you know, getting all this information for our members to know more about TFN, the history and all the stories. And I too transcribed some of those interviews, and, you know, those elders at the time who did these interviews, they did it with their hearts to share this information, not to just have it locked away and not have our members today accessing that. The only other comment I have regarding this is to include our cedar bark harvesting and the importance of that as well. Haichka.
Haichka Legislature Paliquia. Legislature Saltanat.
Haichka Squeakle and Feather Runner. You know, like, it's really important, you know, like, I'm just thinking about the recordings that you ladies are talking about, and probably most of the elders that did that or the people are no longer with us. So I think that's really important if we could find all those recordings again. And I know there's some place in storage where they have all this history, but hopefully we'll be able to find the place where they have it in storage. It's really important to share, you know, like, for myself, anybody that wants to learn, they know where to catch up to me. And, you know, like, I've got people that have actually come to do some weaving with me. And for the cedar bark harvesting, it's harder to find trees, you know, like, to harvest the cedar bark and the cedar root and any of the other medicines in the forest. So, and we've been utilizing Catesy, asking permission to go into their territory. But if anybody has any idea where we could go harvesting, or just let us know, and then we could do the protocols. Okay, Haichka.
Hoosiam Haichka. Legislature Tehuilam.
Haichka Squeakle CM and Haichka to Taylor for the resolution, and Haichka to the previous speakers, my colleagues, for their comments as well. Yeah, I totally support this resolution. It's very important, and it's going to be interesting to see what comes out of it. I look forward to sharing what knowledge I have in areas of fishing and hunting, and as well as carving and singing. Yeah, very important, and I look forward to hearing those recordings as well, like everybody else, and having them accessible to membership. It's going to be just awesome to hear those stories. I really look forward to that. And also, yeah, when it comes to all these different fishing and hunting and cultural practices and teachings and sharing of knowledge, it's really going to be great to I guess just instill the respect part of, I guess, for fishing is really important, and for all of the different areas previously mentioned there. But yeah, we really have to respect the waters and respect the power of the waters and the spirit out there. And whether you're in the river or the ocean, serious work out there fishing, and it's hard work, and just got to be safe out there and mindful of all the little bits and pieces that are part of it, because it can be very serious work, and got to be safety is, like, I guess, #1 priority when we're going to be bringing young folks out there and stuff. So look forward to being a part of that, and Haichka again for Taylor to bring this resolution forward. Haichka.
Haichka Legislature Tehuilam, and as we you know, walk towards our culture that has been lost, and all the aspects of our culture, we're learning different things, and now we're reminding ourselves about the teachings. And I feel the good medicine and the good work that's coming around from this motion. So I'd like to acknowledge that Legislature Taylor tabled this motion, and it was seconded by Legislature Kuyakuya. I'd like to now call for a vote on this motion. All in favor, please raise your hands. Legislature Tehuilam.
In favor, Hotchkiss, Waikousiam.
Legislatures, thank you. This resolution has passed unanimously. I would now like to invite Legislature Taylor to share her next resolution. It was the resolution. My apologies, I got a little bit confused. Resolution to develop a Tsawwassen First Nation book. Legislature Taylor put this on the table at our last meeting. As a reminder, this resolution asks Executive Council to support the development of a Tsawwassen First Nation book that includes information about our history, culture, and treaty, and that highlights the voices of our people. I think this seems to be tying in nicely to your previous resolution, Taylor. It's almost like you planned it. I'd like to invite you now, Legislature Taylor, to provide a brief explanation on your reasonings for bringing this forward, and then we'll open up the table for discussion and debate. Hajka. Legislature Taylor.
Hajka Squeakle and Hajka Dayton for the feather. And yeah, thank you. It's my pleasure to talk about a resolution to develop a Tsawwassen First Nation book tonight. As I mentioned on Tuesday, I've been very inspired over the last year, you know, seeing other nations develop their own book. And I know this is something of discussion that Tsawwassen government and families in our community have really hoped for. I think it's a really good learning tool for our future generations, as well as our treaty partners and our expanding leasehold resident community for sure. We have so much to share, as it ties into my previous resolution about sharing knowledge. I think we can learn so much from each and one of our families as well from this book. You know, I would really love to see this book, you know, develop through the people of our community, and, you know, family meetings and sharing and recordings from, you know, 10, 20, 30 years ago. I really, really want our people just to be the main highlight and stars of this future book if it were to be passed. But yeah, that's my overview for reasoning of bringing this forward. Should I read the resolution before? Okay.
Yes, please. Thank you, Legislature Taylor.
Hajka, resolution to develop a Tsawwassen First Nation book. Whereas in engagements with staff and Executive Council, members continuously raise the need to support transmission of knowledge about Tsawwassen culture and history to younger generations and to members who are moving back to Tsawwassen lands. And whereas though our culture has an oral tradition, in the Declaration of Nationhood and Identity, we declared that our traditional government and institutions evolve and that we now walk in two worlds, and therefore we should embrace modern ways of sharing knowledge. And whereas a book would be a teaching material that we can use to share knowledge with our members, as well as to teach our treaty partners, leasehold resident community, and others that want to learn more about the original inhabitants of this land. And whereas Section 4 of the Tsawwassen Culture and Heritage Act requires Executive Council to preserve, promote, and develop Tsawwassen culture. Therefore, be it resolved that the Legislature requests that Executive Council support the development of a Tsawwassen First Nation book that includes information about our history, culture, and treaty, and highlights the voices of our people. Hajka.
Hajka, Legislature Taylor. Any questions or comments from legislators? Wow, it was fast. Legislature Kuyakuya. And then spoke. It was almost a tie.
I really like this resolution. Just a couple questions on, I feel it could be a novel, really. So I'm just wondering, like, what do you see in this book? And who do you see? And do you see a group of people working on it together? I mean, it could get something that's so positive. I just worry that it might get lost. You know what I mean? I just, do you see some of our history? Do you see family history, people, protocols? legends. There's just so many. And I know that I think Crystal mentioned that education, they're doing some work, but I think those are more geared towards educational purposes. So this is, I really like this idea, and I have seen some other books in other nations as well. So yeah, I just don't want it to get lost. So and it would be good, maybe a suggestion would be to have a group of people, you know, maybe SCLC or you know, to work on it so that it doesn't get lost.
Haichka, for those suggestions and comments, Legislature Kwiakwia. Legislator Taylor, would you like to respond?
Haichka Dayton.
Oh, that's loud.
Haichka Dayton. I'm going to pull it back a bit. And Haichka Kwiakwia for your questions. I too share, you know, those concerns, but I think what I love about bringing it to the table like this, I think I would take, you know, everyone's comments and, you know, make it what we want. And, you know, I think Tsawwassen can do what we would like with this book and, you know, not follow what other nations have done, but just from what I've seen from other nations, you know, an external firm, publication firm has been hired, and it takes time, and, you know, it's going to cost a bit of money, but I think it's a good investment to have our history, you know, recorded like that. But just from what I've seen from other nations, you know, someone externally, another firm, publication firm has been hired, but, you know, they work with, you know, facts or, you know, things on the record, but as well, you know, work with families, you know, and get their knowledge and their teachings from oral traditions, because it's, you know, we're in a different time where, you know, having it written down is maybe something that our people didn't really do. So having a mix between oral tradition versus, you know, what's on the record for the facts, I think are really important. But then again, I think having a suggestion with the SCLC and, you know, our language and culture team, and I just think like it's endless of who can be involved in it. So again, I think the world's our oyster to make this book of what we want it to be. Previously, you know, you say a novel, I totally agree. I think there's endless history and endless knowledge about our ancestors that can be put into this type of book. But, you know, maybe something like, maybe I'm not thinking necessarily like a novel, but more so, you know, like an atlas, you know, a lot of visuals, a lot of maps, a lot of, you know, showing the different, you know, the changes to Tsawwassen First Nation over, you know, time immemorial. So it can look like anything, I think, you know, your comments are so appreciated, because that's what I was thinking as well. So, Haichka.
Haichka Legislature, I think that we are starting to look at things like Volume 1, Volume 2, you know, recipes that support the harvesting of the animals that you were talking about. Maybe it's all together, maybe it's separately. I think there's a lot of opportunity, but we need to make a plan, we need to get some money, and we need to have some people involved to make sure that we have contributions. I think we've got some great support around the table for this so far. Legislature Spalaktuit.
Haichka Squeakwollen, Feather Runner. I do like this resolution, and I was also going to mention excuse me, that it would be nice to have the legends on there as well. Even, you know, it would be good for, you know, the parents to read it to their kids. And I'm not sure if the option too of maybe an ebook as well. I don't know if that would be more costly too. So yeah, just a suggestion. Haichka.
Haichka Legislature Sultanate.
Haichka Squeakquill and Feather Runner. You know, like way back in the last century, probably in the 50s and early 60s, there's a guy from the Optimist that recorded stories, you know, from the legends and everything. And so I'm just wondering, you know, like that was published by the Optimist. So I'm not, I guess it's a legal question in regards to who actually owns the documents and the stories, you know, because sometimes when we get institutions telling, you know, recording the stories, they claim it's their property. So I think we need clarification on the legal aspect of the stories. But the Tsawwassen legends are really good, you know, like they're very historical. And So when you say, you know, you want to share it with, are you thinking of sharing it with externally also? You know, like with different nations, the settler community, or just for the Tsawwassen people? And a suggestion, you know, I mentioned this a few times, back in the last century, 1985, we had a photographer come out and he took pictures of the village, you know, different structures and people. And not too long after that, things changed, because that's when we started putting the dike out, or the breakwater out there. So a lot of things changed. So if we could find all these documents that are in storage, you know, that will help with, you know, putting it in the book, and before and after and what have you. So, and we also have a lot of talented writers in the community. So if we could utilize these people, you know, like, and I could think of Marianne's sister. She's a really good writer. And, you know, she could interpret all of the information. But having photos, and if you do that, I think we need a genealogy, you know, in the back of the book or whatever, of the 5 families, you know, just so the new people coming on board that are moving into the community will know who we are as Tsawwassen people. Okay, Hajka.
Hajka Legislature, I see a large project with some scope issues, but clearly the hunger and the desire to start this kind of work and get it going. And so this resolution gets that going and puts it on record. Legislature Squamiah, and then after that I will bring it to a vote. Legislature Squamiah.
Hajka Squeakquel and Hajka for the Feather. Dayton, I just wanted to mention it would be great to see an archaeology aspect to it, and another great opportunity to dig out those interviews and incorporate those as well. Hajka.
Hajka Legislature Squamiah, we clearly have a story to tell. And you know, we have a lot of, as Legislature Saltanat said, we have a lot of good storytellers in our community that are good at putting it into words. So I think that it's time to call for a vote on the resolution to develop a Tsawwassen First Nation book. All in favor, please read. Oh, I'm sorry, Taylor, Legislature Taylor.
Hi, Hajka Dayton. Sorry, before we get to the vote, I want to answer Loretta's Saltanat's question first.
Oh,
is that
okay?
Thank you to everybody for their comments and questions. But Legislator Saltanat, you had a question about who this could be shared with. I mean, I would love for it to be shared with everybody. And, you know, whether it's our leasehold community, our treaty partners and such. But, you know, I think having our Tsawwassen people, having it shared with them first, and then see that what we can use as a teaching tool.
Sorry about that, Legislature Taylor. I got my little blinders on, and it was about moving forward. My apologies. Thank you for answering Legislature Saltanat's question. All right, so all in favor of this resolution to develop a Tsawwassen First Nation book, please raise your hands. All in favor at the table. Legislature Tehuilam.
In favor, Hajka.
Thank you, legislatures. This resolution has been passed unanimously. This also just wanted to acknowledge that this resolution was tabled by Legislature Taylor and seconded by Legislature Marianne. This now we have the last resolution of the evening, and it's from Legislature Marianne. It's a resolution to establish an off-leash dog area. As a reminder, this resolution asks Executive Council to establish an off-leash dog area on the Tsawwassen lands to protect the land and keep the community safe. I would now like to invite Legislature Marianne to briefly explain her reasons for bringing this resolution forward, and then we can have some questions and discussions. Legislature Marianne.
Hajka Squeakquel Sam and Hajka Dayton for the Feather. My main goal with bringing this resolution forward is it seems like a high need, and a lot of dog owners in the community, members, leaseholders, and whatnot, even the surrounding area, seems like a need. And it would be, I want to make an addition that it could bring others to the area as well, and there's still more development being done and more people are going to be moving in, so it's just going to keep growing. So I feel like this is a really, really great need for this community. And I just want to mention as well, on Tuesday, I may have been saying park. I just want to clarify that I meant area. And I do want to say that I am hoping for a fenced area. It does say it in the resolution. I just want to clarify that as well. I'm just going to go ahead and read the resolution. Resolution to establish an off-leash dog area. Whereas dogs are an important part of many of our member and leasehold resident families, and with an average of 160 licenses issued on lands per year, and whereas opportunities to exercise off-leash are important for dogs' health and well-being, and can also create social opportunities for members and leasehold residents. And whereas people are currently letting their dogs off-leash in places like Falconway Park and Dyke, which is leading to safety concerns and environmental damage, and a fenced area can help to protect the land and keep the community safe. Therefore, be it resolved that the legislature requests that Executive Council establish an off-leash dog area on Tawasin lands. HCM, passive feedback.
Haichka Legislature Marianne for tabling that, and Legislature Lukolia for seconding that. Any questions or comments with respect to the resolution to establish an off-leash dog area from legislators? Legislature Kuyakuya?
Haichka Mary for the resolution, and Dayton for the feather. Maybe just for staff, I'm wondering what the plan is for, is there already a plan in place for an off-leash dog area? And I'm sure there is, but maybe it's in the future, so this resolution is probably a good thing for us to establish now. Timing is good. You know, it seems it's, well, I can see, I've heard it in the community as well, and Mary's witnessed it and other people. So just wondering if that's in the plan, and would this just be temporary?
Haichka Legislature, I think that Wenyan is here. Are we aware of any plans that staff have already made that would complement this resolution? Wenyan?
Thank you. We understand there's a need for the free leash dog area, off-leash dog area. Well, and we're looking at, but there's no fixed plan yet, and we're thinking to include this question in our land use plan update process, and we need to do some community consultation and to consider where there's an area that's off the residential area, and but it's close by as well, and have flat area we can do some suitable for this use. So yeah, but there's no plan yet. Yeah.
Haichka Wenyan, so it's on staff's radar, but so does that answer your question, Legislature Kuyakuya? Legislature Marianne, did you want to respond to any of Legislature Kuyakuya's comments? Are there, thank you, Wenyan. Are there any other questions? Legislature Plihwia. Sorry, my dear.
Haichka Squeakle must be getting near the end of the night here. No, I really support this resolution. We have a lot of dogs in our community, in our area. And I think a lot of problem too, people let their dogs off leash and say, oh, my dog is nice. But it could set a reaction to a dog that's on a leash or what have you. There's so many different things that can happen. But it also doesn't even have to be that big of an area. We can have a few areas. And I think about the little spot by the track in Ladner, by the bus depot there. That's not a very big area, and there's a lot of dogs there that are utilizing that space. So I think we could potentially have a couple small areas in our community. Haichka.
Haichka Legislature Plihwia for those comments. Did you have any response, or would you like to respond to any of that comment, Legislature Marianne?
Haichka Squeakle and Haichka Legislator Plihwia for your comments. I completely agree, And that's why I'm glad that you mentioned that, because an area is more expansive than just saying a park, because a park's quite large in my point of view. So yeah, I completely agree. Hajkasiam.
Hajka Legislature, Marianne. Legislature Sultanat.
Hajka Squeakle and the Feather Runner and Marianne. I could envision two areas, you know, because there's residents everywhere, somewhere down the beach area. You know, like I know people don't like it when the dogs are running around the marsh area, but you know, close to the causeway, you know, on that side, south side. And I could see a park there or doggy area. And I'm not too sure if they still have the litter bags or whatever they're called. You know, I know they had it at the dike, so we'd have to have more of those around. And the other area would be down the new development down the dike area on the north side. You know, like the development, housing development in there. So I'm not too sure if there's any place around those two areas. And I've seen people walking their cats, so gotta make, never mind, we'll talk to you later.
Hajka Legislature Sultanat, that is a real thing, and I've seen some amazing cats doing some amazing things actually. Legislature Laqualia, and then after Laqualia's comment or question, we'll go to a vote.
Well, Hajka Squeakle in Dayton. I am in support of this resolution for a couple of reasons. One of them is protecting the foreshore when we're looking at different areas for like an off-leash area. I'm thinking if we ever get it resolved in the next couple of years on the ALR, that would be a good spot. But yeah, protecting the foreshore, because back when there was only, you know, when we were a really small community, you didn't really notice. You know, you could let your dog run and you wouldn't see anybody out there for hours. But now that there's so many more people that have moved to our community, we're actually seeing issues arise. And yeah, I did want to make a comment that we even had people walking their dogs through the mortuary hut area where all of our ancestors are buried. We've taken care of that, but people need a space. And yeah, so that's why I'm supporting this. Hajka.
Hajka Legislature for your comments. I'll give you one more opportunity for any comments, Legislature Marianne, before we go to a vote. You're okay? I would now like to call a vote on the resolution to establish an off-leash dog area. All in favor, please raise your hand. Table is unanimous. Legislature Tehuilam.
In favor. Hajka.
Hajka Legislatures, this resolution has been passed unanimously. We have now completed the legislature resolutions for this session. Thank you for your good work, your thoughtfulness on making our lands and our government a better place to serve and to live, and to be supporting our members in the areas that we feel that they needed support of them. Hajka. Now I'd like to, legislatures, we've officially concluded our business for the spring 2024 session. Everybody take your hats and throw them in the air. Now comes to the concluding part where we get to share closing comments with each other, with our people in the gallery here and our people online, to really officially close this session. We're going to take a little bit of time to go around the table and give one or a few minutes to each legislature for their closing comments. We'll start to our left, my left, and we'll go around. We'll bypass the chief and go right from Laqualia to me, and then let Chief Squamiset have the final word. And then we'll do our ceremonial procession to end. And before I go to the closing comments, I just want to remind everybody that the hard work that you do is really appreciated. And we have ceremony and traditions and protocols that take care of our body, our spirit, and our mind. The food takes care of our body. but we have a traditional healer, Keith Nahaney, here with his wife and son. They'll be ready to brush off legislatures, advisory council members, staff who wants to have that brushing off to take care of their energy, and we'll be able to use them to support us in just allowing us to finish this work and letting go of the things that we need to let go, so we don't carry the hard work that we've done during this session with us. We've done the hard work, and now we can let go. So we've organized, staff have organized that. So I just wanted to remind everybody that that's important work that still needs to happen after we've done the ceremonial procession. So without further ado, I'd like to start with Legislator Taylor, please. Heichka.
Heichka Dayton, Heichka Squeakquel. Just want to start by thanking every single one of you around the table for a very informative session. I wish I could say it went by quick, but it was a really great session, and just for me too, listening and learning from each and every one of you was just I'm so grateful. I just want to send a big thank you to staff, for all directors, all managers, and all staff that put their time and effort into all the material that we viewed the last 6 weeks. So it's incredible how much time and effort goes into this, and I just want to raise my hands to everybody on our staff that made this happen, especially to Mark. Thank you. You're here every night, and you're at our advisory meetings every night answering those questions, and I'm sure you're going to be happy to have some dinner at home. And I really appreciate just the time, and yourself. You've taught me a lot being a part of the Finance and Audit Committee as well. I've had a lot of questions there and at the budget sessions, the workshops, so really appreciate for the work that you've done for me too. So Heichka. I also really look forward to over the next few months with our Treaty Day celebration with you all, and Indigenous Peoples Day, and many more community events such as Executive Council engagements that we'll be doing soon. And thank you as well to staff that are here and to listening for the amazing programming that is just offered to our community. Especially since post-COVID, it's incredible to see what is going on in our community. We have youth boxing classes, we have elders, walking the dike or doing Zumba classes. And I just think it's incredible, what better way to promote health and wellness in our community. And drumming nights too, connecting our people with our culture. My hands go up to Terry and our language and culture team for always putting on something every week. I'm just really pleased to see so much going on in the community. It's refreshing to see post-COVID for sure. And I also just want to thank Advisory Council and our elders. Again, you've been here every session, so it's amazing to see you attend and listen and learn as well, and give your feedback at our Advisory Council meetings. Really appreciate it. And Heichka to our caterers, Yums Catering and Janet, and all the delicious food that nourished us. So Heichka.
Heichka, Legislature Taylor. Legislature Lichwia.
Heichka. Yes, I would really like to thank our staff as well for all the time and long hours that have been put in to hold our spring session, and the work that you do with our members to ensure all the culture work has done at each meeting. I appreciate sitting here at this table with my fellow legislators and all of the work that advisory puts in, and we could not be here without the support of our members. I also like to thank our children and our families who know that we're away from home, sitting here to do this important work. And my hopes for this coming year is just more working together, not smart, working for now and future generations. We have so much development and growth around us, and we're a fast-growing nation. And we are fortunate enough to have so much amazing programs for our members, and the support is just unreal. But there's always room to expand, and every day we continue to learn and grow, and to ensure that our members are treated equal and have equal opportunities, and is very important. And I just look forward to you know, working together and enjoying our time and, you know, all the resolutions and putting in the work to come together and share our stories and a meal and have fun gatherings together. Hechka.
Hechka Pelichia Legislature Halkomitia.
Haichka Squeakle Siam. Yeah, I just want to say Haichka to all of our drummers that drummed us in. It's definitely our heartbeat of our nation. And Haichka to our feather runners. We had Dayton majority of the time. I'm really impressed how he's getting to know our names, our ancestral names. Hechka to our members, our elders and members who did the prayers for us, opening our session, and to our cooks who nourished us and kept our bellies full, and to our squeakles. We had 2 this session, so Hechka to both of them. Really appreciate that hard work. And Hechka to my fellow legislators. I just love the time that I spend with all of you at this table. I got a lot of respect for all of you. It's a real sacrifice you make to be at this table and get this work done. So now we got a new budget, so we can operate for another 4 years, and we've made some changes to our Land Act, and we've got a lot of really good resolutions on the table. It amazes me how even our legislators hear what our community is saying, because all the resolutions I heard that at the members gathering when the executive council, we went around and sat at all the tables, and you guys are bang on exactly what our community is asking for. So my hands go up to you for that. That's awesome. And big hands up to our staff. It's just unbelievable, all the hard work to put everything together here, and to our hands up to our advisory council for providing the feedback to all of what we have to say at this table, and to all of our members that support us day after day and night after night and online as well. It would be nice if we could have some faces of them up there. People who participate online so we could see. That would be awesome. And we've got a big year ahead of us. The biggest thing I think is our new elder centers going up, so it's going to be really exciting seeing that go up this spring. So, but Hechka everybody, and thanks.
Hechka Legislature Halkomitia Legislature Kuyakuya.
Hechka Squeakle Siam. Hechka Dayton for the feather. I really enjoyed this session. It was really great and fun. Even just coming and enjoying meals, and then, not meeting, it's always so great to gather. And I think that's what I got out of this session is I really enjoy getting together and just sitting with one another, with our families and with each other and visiting. I'm not sure, maybe I'm getting old, but I'm really just enjoying, just visiting and lifting each other up. So anyways, I think that's what I got out of it mostly. But also just want to thank our elders for coming, and to those who provided prayer, and to our drummers and singers as well, and to our feather runners, Dayton. It's awesome to see you fly around here. Just reminds me of when Tyler started. I think he was our first feather runner for legislature, and it's pretty cool. I should get a photo op of that. Anyways, that's awesome. It's just great, and it reminds me of because I ask, what did you think about tonight and stuff like that, and we talk about having a youth group, a youth legislature or something, and there's interest there, so I'm looking forward to that. Also, just thank our caterers for feeding us. It's awesome that we use our own catering company. I'm just really thinking about that, and it's important. I was thinking about the days when we had Chinese food at every meeting. It's just so great to feed our own people and take care of each other. And thank you to Squeakle Chumquat for being there. That is not an easy job. And thank you for allowing me to step in. You know, there's benefits to being Squeakquel, but there's also, you know, you don't get to vote on certain things and stuff like that, or, you know, so just really appreciate that as well. And thank my fellow legislators. I really enjoy sitting here with you all and listening. And I think it's so great that we all come from different backgrounds and we all bring different things to the table. And thank the staff too for allowing us to ask our questions and being so respectful and understanding where we come from. We live and breathe here, and some of us work here, live here, and you know it's a lot, and raise our families here, and you know, and I see our staff as a part of our family too, so that's awesome. And to Advisory Council, it's so great to see our Advisory Council sit here with us. Almost at every meeting that we have our Advisory Council here, and it's so important. I really appreciate that. And also, it was my first resolution, I think, that I put on the table. So I really appreciate everybody who supported my resolution, and just, you know, again, the focus was just on member businesses and member employment. People struggle with employment, and sometimes not everybody fits into the cookie cutter jobs, you know, and I think that's a main reason why people develop businesses, because that's a part of who we are as people. We take care of our own, and yeah, it just was important to me. And also just want to thank Taylor and Marianne for your resolutions as well. It was good. It was really good. And I just wanted to say how important it is for everybody to speak up. I think that's why I enjoy the opening and closing comments, because we get to hear everybody. And I felt like I talked a lot at this this session, but you know, some of us can't help it. But you know, I just really appreciate hearing everybody and what they have to say. If I missed anything, I'm not sure, but Hachka, I hope everybody will see each other at the next gathering.
Haichka Legislature Kuakwia Legislature Spalaktuit.
Haichka Squeakquel, thank you for the runner. Asiam Nat Sia E Sialahua. My most honored friends and elders, Natsli San Sia Tam Tia Ni Wealth I Mat Not Swale Alt Tan Tamucht. I'd like to thank the Creator for another beautiful day on Mother Earth, and I would like to thank both Squeakquel for, you know, your hard work. My hands go up to you, Haichka. And I want to extend my gratitude to the staff for their hard work in preparing presentations for our sessions. And a special thank you to our Advisory Council and Leaseholder Committee for their insightful reports. And I appreciate the drummers. I'm not going to name them all because there's so many. And I'd also like to welcome back Satsamia, you know, sharing your powerful voice as well. And so for the drummers, for their strong, powerful medicine and prayers that marked a positive start and blessed our meals. I am grateful for the presence of our members in the gallery and online viewers each evening. And a huge thank you to our feather runners for joining us as we are drummed in and out. Even though some nights can be late, it's great to see our young ones sticking it out with us, taking a part in this important work and learning protocols. And I would also like to extend the invitation to my fellow legislators, the Chief and Executive Council, to our final language session. There's 4 of us that's taking the certificate program for Hunkaminam. So lunch will be served at noon, followed by our performance, Raven Falls. If you could kindly confirm your attendance for catering purposes, or indicate if you would plan to join us after lunch. The event will take place on Wednesday, April 10th, which is also my mother's birthday. And I would also want to thank Keith Nahaney and his family for answering the call last minute. And apologies for not calling you by your ancestral name. Haitzapka Natsiam Natsia, yeah. And I also want to say Aramoto because we haven't heard it for a while, so Natsamat for current and future generations.
Hechka Legislature, Swiloctawit Legislature, Sultanate.
Hitchka for the feather, and for the previous legislators and to Squeakquilt. I would like to acknowledge the caterers to feed us all the time, because I don't have to cook then. And I appreciate the caterer that left out the peas on my shepherd's pie the other night. That was amazing. So also for the staff, for your patience with all my questions, and for the legislators for being patient with me too, because I was told one time, if you don't know, ask. So, and I found out I don't know a lot, so I keep asking questions. So, you know, like we had a good session, you know, like, and I also acknowledge the other legislators for asking questions, you know, like, and sometimes you guys ask the questions I was going to, so I didn't have to. You know, like, I like the idea of having a youth council. We've been talking about that for years and years, so I'm thinking that we need to do it. You know, like after the last assembly, they had a youth council, I believe, and I thought we were going to get something happening after that, so maybe this is the year to do it. You know, like, and get our future politicians trained early, you know, like, and if they train them to ask questions. But, you know, we had so many good people here, the drummers, the singers, the caterers, the feather runners, the Squeakquilts, and staff, of course. And one thing that I'm finding out, you know, communication has been a big thing that we've been working on, and it's improving. So, and it will, by the next session, it's going to be really 100% perfect. No, just kidding. And, you know, like there's so many activities happening, and it's good. You know, like, and I just know I have to get out of my comfort zone and participate in some of them, and I know I can't, but you know, like it's because I don't drum and I don't sing and I don't bead, but I could do other things. So, but anyhow, but I just go to everybody, and I'm not too sure if did you just wait, did you get my text? Yeah, you? Me? Okay, on March the 29th, we know her, well, my family knows her, Auntie Mum, but Marion Genge, you know, like her celebration of life is March 29th.
30th.
Or the 30th. Okay, why did I say the 29th? Yeah, I got that on my calendar, right? So, you know, like, and somebody asked me about it and they didn't know about it, so that's why I thought I'd bring it up. Thank you for allowing me to share that information. And it's important. You know, Auntie Mom has been a big force, even though she never lived in our community for a long time. But she was a gentle, strong, forceful elder and very kind. And so just hopefully we'll be all here. And I'll be doing pies. Okay, I think that's it. I ramble on too much, but Haichka to everybody. And we'll see you guys at the next celebration or gathering. Haichka.
Hechka Legislature, Sultanate. Legislature, Luxon? Luxiton? I'm going to save Bryce to almost the very end. Hechka, though, thank you very much for checking with me.
Hachka Squeakquill, Hachka Dayton for the feather. This has been a good session, and I'd like to thank the staff for all their hard work and for the patience, for all the legislators, for me, for the time I've been going through. But more with you guys and more with family, it just gets better and stronger for myself and everything. So I'd like to thank the cooks that fed us, Mama J's, and Young's Cooking, and the Feather Runners we had, and the drummers who are our heartbeat, which make myself stronger at each session when I hear them. And I just feel blessed to be here with all you guys and for the support that you guys give me for all this. So, Hachka.
Hachka Legislature Legislature Squamiah.
Hechka Squeakle and Hechka Dayton for the Feather. Yeah, I would like to thank all the drummers, everybody who's provided prayers to our feather runners. I would love to see a youth legislative assembly. I think that would just be awesome. To all of the caterers, I think I've been thinking daily about that seafood chowder. It was delicious. To all of the staff, our advisory council members, for meeting and also attending our session. To the Chief and Executive Council, my fellow legislatures, to our Squeakquel and our fellow legislature that stepped in as the Squeakquel, to all of our guests, members that attend here in person and online. There's just so much work that goes into putting these presentations together. I can't thank the staff enough for that. I really enjoy everyone's presentations and just learning about all of the programs and opportunities that we provide to our members. You know, even just last night, I was having dinner with my family, and we had a couple ladies from another nation, and you know, they're just very impressed with everything that Tsawwassen provides, and you know, it's just really something to be so proud of, how far we've come, and yeah, all the support that we provide for all of our members. I would also like to thank the legislatures for our resolutions, and I hope I'm not forgetting anyone. Hachka.
Hachka Legislature Squamiah. Legislature Marianne.
Hachka Squeakle Sam and Hachka Dayton for the Feather. I'd also like to say thank you so much to the opening drummers, or the drummers that opened us for our meals, Connie and Jessica and Wapio and Kokui Masat and many more. I'd like to thank the caterers, Yum's Catering, Mama J's Catering, and the Feather Runners, Ryder and Dayton. They did a wonderful job, and I didn't owe them anything this time, so I'm grateful for that. And I'd also like to thank my grandmother, Elder Costania, for the prayers, member Nicole Watson as well, and the staff that puts this together, and honestly, I just feel like a baby coming in here, because we just have to attend, we just have to be here, and yet everyone does the work around us, and I just can't really express into words how grateful I am for that, and to the community that had put us into these seats, and just everyone that surrounds us here. And also like to thank the fellow legislators here at the table that put resolutions forward. They were all very amazing. And yes, I also hope I'm not missing anyone. It's not intentional. But yes, I guess the main word is just gratitude. Hachka Siyam.
Hachka Legislature Marianne. Legislature Locolia.
Hachka Squeakle Sam, thank you Dayton for the feather. And thank you to everyone who makes each meeting possible. I can confirm, when I was a little girl, Auntie Loretta did say to me, if you don't ask, how will you know? So I guess we can kind of see how I ended up here. I feel like members are being heard, and that TFN now has the means to provide where we did not before. I have hopes that with the new changes coming in next fiscal, that we can focus on communications and forming the community of the supports that are available. If members are unaware of what's currently offered and what is reflected in these changes, they cannot access them. So I'm hoping to see something like a TFN member guide where folks can navigate services, programs, benefits, and subsidies. It's so cool to see so many TFN members getting excited about health and wellness. It's so awesome. I can't wait to get some new sneakers. One project I'm really looking forward to is the opening of the TFN Cultural Hub. I've had many conversations over the years with elders and community members, and all of those who either pushed for or supported the need for a museum or a cultural center. Not to say anyone would be against it, since some of those folks have dedicated their lives to Indigenous culture and education. I take great pride in knowing that we're closer to sharing our work with membership and one day with the public. But it's my dream for our elders of today to walk through the doors of a new center, since many of the supporters are no longer walking with us earthside. We do this work not only for future generations, but to honor our ancestors, the reason why we are all able to exist here today. And I also want to send a message out to all who are grieving or struggling to know that you are not alone, and there are so many people who care and love about you, and do not hesitate to reach out to the people that you trust. And I'll see you all at the next session.
Haitchka Legislature Locolia, Legislature Tehuilam.
Haitchka, everybody. Haitchka Squaikwell. Haitchka, everybody, for your previous closing comments. And I just want to start off by saying Haitchka to everyone involved to make sure that this important work was done in a good way. Haitchka to members, staff, elders, advisory council, our leaseholder residents, cooks, our drummers, feather runners, people that pray for our food and for our work to be done in a way, and that pray for our people and for people's safety to get home after these meetings and that. Haitchka to colleagues, chief and executive council members and legislators. It's really great to be part of this legislature, and it's a great opportunity to sit here to do this work for our fellow members as Ngāti for current and future generations. We have grown so much in 15 years, and it's great to witness and be part of this good work since signing treaty in 2009. And prior to that, as a voice for our youth in some committees. There were a couple of hiccups with the power outages and whatnot along the way, but it's great to see that we're here now passing another budget, moving that good work forward. Yeah, once again, hands up to my colleagues for their dedication and hard work, and to be here in the workshops and long nights of legislature, spending time away from your families. It can be hard on them, and it can be hard on us, missing out on dinners and playtime or just hanging out with family. When I dialed in the other night, my son kept trying to get me to leave my meeting and to play with him and some of his toys and whatnot. And so I understand it can be tough. So shout out to my fiance and my son for understanding why I have to be away. Even though Remo's questioned me again today, why you have to be in that meeting? Why play with me? So yeah, all in all, thank you everybody. Good work. Thanks to staff and everybody making this happen. It's an honor to be here and do this work for current and future generations as one, not as Ngāti, all as one. So hands up to everyone once again. Haitchka.
Haitchka Legislature Tehuilam. Wow, a lot of great words, and then I'm last. You said all the things that I want to say, but I'm going to say them again anyhow. I'm going to take my turn, but I think what I would like to do first is acknowledge Siim Salat, Legislature Siim Salat. She would want to acknowledge the people that did the good work today. She would want to acknowledge the prayers. She would want to acknowledge the drums. She would want to acknowledge the food, and she would want to thank all of her fellow legislators and members So I just want to say that unfortunately she went home not feeling well, and we can send prayers and support her way so that she feels a bit better. But I know that she would want to. And she always hates going first, but it's just the nature of the way it works. So in some ways, this was her time to go almost last. So we'll have to let her know. It's true, we had many twists and turns to this legislative session, but I think it showcases our adaptability, our ability to plan for contingency. We're not really behind schedule. We had planned to have this day in our calendar just in case, and this time we needed it. So again, our resiliency and our adaptability have showed why we are where we are today because of that very reason. And it's true, we had an opportunity to eat together, even if we didn't get to meet together. I love that, you know, if we can't fulfill our roles because we're ill or we're unable to, that any one of us are willing to step in and support one another. And I love that. And again, I want to raise my hands to Legislature Kwiakwia. You know, you've been raised with some good teachings and you're walking in the footsteps of your ancestors. And I am sure that they are very proud, as I am very proud of you. I appreciate the Squeakquels that came before me, that paved the path when there was no rule book or no way to know how to do it. I mean, we had a pause here where we were waiting to move forward, and someone said, you should tell a story like Squeakquel Tony did, Thamit. You know, Thamit always had some good stories to share that would make us laugh. The chicken story and different stories that he would have. And, you know, Legislature Squeakquel Ken, you know, in his calm way of moving things forward. And Squeakquel Stephen, and how they would, you know, manage the way and go forward. And we learn from each other. But that's how isn't that how we learn? Isn't that our way? Is we are mentored by all of our elders and our predecessors. So the twists and turns were okay because we were adapting. And I love how we also have different views. We come from different backgrounds and we're all family, but we have different views. And we can talk about them differently, but we leave still as family. And that's when we hang our stuff on the nail, and our protocols and our ceremony allow us to conduct our business in a very respectful manner and still allow us to have different views. And I thank our protocols and our ceremonies for allowing us to do, because we have to have different voices. We don't always all have to vote yes, and we all don't have to always vote no, but we have to vote. And I think that as long as we're using our voice in a respectful manner and using our ceremony and protocol, we end up doing good work. And I think that I'm really proud of our Legislative Assembly for modeling that kind of good work. And for listening to our members and bringing their concerns to this table, either by resolutions or questions or suggestions to each of the schedules that came forward. And knowing now that staff is listening, because we've seen the results of that. And I really, again, want to echo the appreciation for listening to staff and, acknowledging that staff is listening and celebrating that. I'm so thankful for the cooks, for the medicine that the drums bring, the song, the power in the song, the power in the ceremony, the feather runner. There's an important position in that feather runner, and the respect that we give to that feather runner for managing the timing of how we speak and waiting for that feather runner. It's such an important role, and I'm so glad that our youth are involved in that. I want to reflect on that 15 years of self-governing. That's what this table is also representing. It also means that we have to make tough decisions. It means that sometimes our decisions create successes, sometimes our decisions create challenges, and sometimes we make decisions that have caused some hardship. But we are a self-governing nation, therefore that means they're our decisions, and our successes, our challenges, and our decisions that need to be corrected is all on us. And that's what it means to be independent and self-governing. As I reflect upon the 15 years, I was reflecting that I made a calculation error in my birth day. I kind of had a daylight savings birthday where I skipped a year. I thought I was 58, but it's not true. I'm 59, which means at the end of December I turned 60, which isn't hard math. 1964, 2024. I don't know, this daylight savings thing might have hit me a little harder than I thought. But I just want to also thank the ancestors for the teachings that they've passed down to us. And whether I know all the teachings or not, they're innate. They're deep inside of me. And working together helps revive them, to allow them to come forward, no matter how much teaching I have. So I want to thank the ancestors for that. I also want to say that it's important that we remain kind to one another, despite the fact that we may not agree or we may not always be on the same page, but being kind and respectful to each other really showcases this legislature's power. How you can have controversy and still move forward in a good way. Not so much working together for current and future generations. It's important that we remember that. And I just want to make one more comment about, remembering to reach out to our loved ones that might need some help. But it's also important that when you need help, reach out to those loved ones. They want to help you. And, if you're in the water and you're feeling like the water's too rocky, you put that hand out and someone's going to be there. People want to help you and they want to help each other. And that's what our community and family is all about, in my opinion. So thank you so much for giving me an opportunity to share my closing comments. I would now like to invite Chief Squamosat for her closing remarks. Haichka Osiam.
Haichka Squikosiam and Haichka Dayton for the feather. Yeah, it's hard to follow everybody. Everybody has said really great words. But I want to start off by saying thank you to everyone for supporting me and all the prayers you gave me at the beginning of this here session. I know I missed the first couple of meetings for the legislature and the workshops. But I want to thank you guys for all going on and understanding why I was away. And thank you to my sister. I know she even did one legislature sitting in my bedroom there with me in bed, out of it from my surgery, but she still was right there participating in legislature. And I said I could probably listen, but I went right out. I went right to sleep, so I missed it. But I just want to say thank you to everybody. I appreciate the support. I just want to say thank you to my fellow legislatures for a good session. I really appreciate and like all the words that you guys have all shared tonight with your closing remarks. And it's obvious you guys all listen to the community and you guys care with your hearts, and you're speaking on behalf and working for the community, and it really shows. And I want to acknowledge that. So I just want to raise my hands to you guys. And I want to say thank you to the Squikle, both of yous. You guys have done a wonderful job. To the Advisory Council for all your input. And I want to thank our CAO and the directors and the managers and the staff for all the work that you guys have done. It's obvious you guys are listening to the community, and it really shows in the budgets that you guys created, because you guys have put together programs that reflect everything that our community wants, and it really shows. And I also want to acknowledge is how you guys look for grants and different revenue sources for things, because if you look at how the revenue is coming in, they have really done a lot of great work bringing in revenue to for all these here programs. And I just want to acknowledge that. That's great work. Thank you, Hajka. And also thank you to the Finance and Audit Committee who goes through the budget before it comes here. And I, once again, you know, with our directors and managers and everything, they present that budget there, plus they present it at the legislature's workshops, and then they present it again all over here. So I really appreciate that. And I'd like to thank the cooks that nourish us for all these sessions, and the drummers for sharing the heartbeat of the drum. It's really gives us great strength, and all the prayers that are said by, well, even our fellow legislature, Marianne, pops in and does prayers, and Terry Ann with the drumming. Like, it's good to see, you know, right within our legislature, so you are all pitching in and sharing. And for our feather runners, I really think it's great how we have the youth participating. And I also agree a youth council would be great, just being at the members gathering, and I attended the listen to the youth for the program that they had there, and we have some pretty intelligent youth out there, and they're not afraid to ask questions, and they really seem to be getting involved. And I think Mark can share that because he was there, and it was really, really fun to actually watch them and see them, and just seeing all the programs that we witness at the youth center. It's good to see how our youth are doing so well. And once again, it's a lot of the good programs that we have. And that's the other thing is we do have, I like how you guys have all acknowledged all of our programs that we have going on within our community. There's lots of great programs. I wish I could attend a lot of them. And it's good to hear that a lot of them are being attended. And it seems like right from having mortgage workshops for young people to invest in homes, to youth programs, health and wellness programs, more programs with the elders. There's just so much going on, and it's just so great to see all of it. And I'm probably missing some, but I know everyone's tired here, so yeah, I like to also say is not so much for current and future generations. I'm glad everybody's raising what our will go is for us for this term, and I just want to say big hachka to everybody.
Hajka Chief Skomasat and Hajka legislatures for your closing comments. They really are so inspiring, and it really is a privilege to be sitting at this table with you. We now have reached the end of our agenda for this evening and for our spring 2024 session. I would like to extend a big hajka to the legislatures for your hard work and thoughtful comments, questions, and insights throughout these last few weeks. This concludes our business for this evening and this spring session. I would like to thank again, once again, Connie and Jessica Adams for blessing the table, for Marianne Adams for the opening prayer, Legislature Spiloctowit and Samia for drumming us in and out of the ceremonial drumming here, and Dayton for our feather runner, and to our elders in present and online, our advisory council members who are present and have been witnessing this work the entire session. Also might be online, members that are here and online, for our staff who have been here tirelessly in day out and different nights for the work that they need to do. Remind you that we have a respected healer, Keith Nahaney, for cedar brushing with his son and his wife to brush us off after all the heavy work after we finish our procession. There will now be a procession as we are drummed out and remove our feathers from the mantle. Thank you again for allowing me to have the privilege and honor of being your squeakle for tonight and for this session. Hajka Osiem.